It's that time once again, Caniacs, as we get to talk about the season that was for Andrei Svechnikov in this edition of the season grades of the 23-24 NHL season.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everydayer for making this your first listen of the day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I am your host, Zach Martin. I am the Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers. I also do some AHL coverage over at the Calder Times. I am the co-host of the Searchcast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got a fun show for you guys on a Thursday edition of the podcast as we go over the 23-24 season. That was Andrei Svechnikov. Look at his regular season, also look at the postseason as well. And at the end of the show, we're going over the grades that the fans gave on X once again, along with my grade as well. But before we get into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONAHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So, like I said, we're going over the season that was for Andrei Svechnikov, and in the fact that he only played in 59 games for the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, he was coming off his ACL injury that he had at the end of the 2023 season, right after the trade deadline, probably about a week or so after that. We knew it was going to be a long stretch back. He missed the rest of the regular season, missed the playoffs. Basically, was taking the whole summer of 23 to get back. And there's some speculation of him maybe being ready for training camp, then maybe it was going to be opening night. And then it turned into him missing the first 3 games of the season. But he did eventually come back. So he did miss those games, but was able to come back, played well for the most part, and then unfortunately got hurt against the Winnipeg Jets in an upper body injury after looks like he got cross-checked in the ribs. Missed some time for that, and then later in the season, he also missed more time as well. So basically, it was a season that filled with a lot of stop-starts for Andrei Svechnikov. Starting the season late with his, we're still recovering from his ACL injury back that he had in March, followed by an upper body injury against the Jets, and then later on in the season had another injury as well. And it was one of those things where you look like he was playing well for the most part. And I know at the end of December, it was like him and Sebastian Aho were just on an absolute run together. Like those guys were scoring at will for the Hurricanes essentially. And it was almost like it was like a good couple weeks where you saw them having like 11 or 12 points in a stretch of a few games. And they were just flying high. And then one of those things where Andre gets hurt and kind of slows him down a little bit and tries to catch back up. But I mean, all the things considered, for a season that he had, he got 19 goals, 33 assists for 52 points. He did it in 59 games, so there was 1 point in the regular season. He was a point-per-game guy. And still finishing only 7 points shy of being that point-per-game guy. Still pretty good, all things considered for him. Was a plus 13 on the season as well. Got 5 power play goals. And he also got 8 game-winning goals, which was third on the team, just behind Sebastian Aho and Seth Jarvis. Averaged 16 minutes and 59 seconds. Probably the first time he was under 17 minutes for the first time after the previous 3 seasons before. So his first time back under 17 minutes. 142 hits. Pretty good. That was the second most hits he had in a season. Did have 43 giveaways. Did have 25 takeaways though. So it's one of those things where it's a little bit more giveaways than you would like to have, but overall, Andrei Svechnikov is a really big hitter for the Carolina Hurricanes. While he also does play, he's a good goal scorer. We had 144 shots on goal, 13.2% on his, So overall, not a bad, look at the stats that you kind of see from Andrei Svechnikov in the regular season. You know that he's a good, like probably one of the top power forwards in the league. And it's one of those things where he's only played an 82 game season once, and that was his rookie year back in 18-19, his first year with Rod Brind'amour when Rod was the head coach of the team. After that, 68 games, and then we had 55 games. Of course, that was the shortened season, 78 and 21-22. 64 last season, that's when he got his ACL injury. Then this season, he had 59. So Andrei really hasn't been able to play a whole 82 game season since 18-19. Of course, you take away that COVID shortened season, but other than that, then the closest he got to was 78. So overall, not bad. That was the season where he had 30 goals, 39 assists for 69 points, which is a career year for him across the board. This season, 19 goals is still pretty good, all things considered, for the fact that he did miss a lot of time. 33 assists. That's the third best of his career. He had 39 and 21-22, which was that career year. 52 points, pretty good, all things considered, for him. Now, if you look at the playoffs too, for Andrei Svechnikov, he had 11 points in 11 games. So a point per game guy in the playoffs, 2 goals, 9 assists. He was an even player. He averaged 18 minutes and 44 seconds. And when it came to Andrei Svechnikov, this is what you thought you would love to see him have last season before he has ACL injury, that you were hoping to have a full, healthy postseason for Andrei Svechnikov. And, for the playoffs, career, playoff best, 9 assists of his career. Points wise, 11. That's the best. That's the first time he even hit double digits in terms of the playoffs. Next best was 8 that he had in 2020, 2021. Goal wise, he's not hit anything above 5 yet. He's had 2 4s and a couple of 2s, but you see a lot more assisting and setting up guys rather than scoring goals than you would kind of think for a guy like Andrei Svechnikov. At one point in the playoffs, he had like 5. He had like 4 or 5 assists before he even got to his first goal in the playoffs. And I know the expectations that the fans have is, you look at a guy who's making $7.75 million per season, and of course we are going to go into year 4 of his 8-year, $62 million contract that he signed back in August of 2021 when Domodel was with the team. And of course, that takes up 9.51% of the cap. So I understand where fans are coming from for the fact that if you're taking up 9.5% of the cap at $7.75 million, you kind of would hope to see more of a, you're kind of like in a Sebastian Aho territory of points. And of course, Andrei's coming back from injury, got injured a couple extra times during the season as well. So he only played 59 games, but getting 52 points is still pretty good. You would like to see him actually hit a full season once again in terms of games, because like I said, his next best was 78. So a little bit short. He hasn't had an 82 game. He played in all 82 games since his rookie season. I know in the playoffs it's good. He got 11 points in 11 games. You would like to see more goal scoring, because you really can't have 2 in 11 games when you're kind of looked at as the goal scorer and someone who's a good scoring power forward and someone who can lay hits, play a 200-foot game. It's just, I think all this goes into the grade that the fans gave him, and I think it's understandable where where the expectations should be for an Andrei Svechnikov in terms of his goals. You're talking postseason and regular season, because regular season 19 kind of had a little slower start, kind of kicked it in later on. The last time he had a 30-goal season was back in 21-22. Next best after that was 24 when he was 19 years old in his sophomore season, and then he had 23, back in 22-23. So you would think he'd be a more perennial 25 to 30 goal scorer. Right now he's had 23, 24, 20, and 19. So I could see where the fans are kind of, okay, we love the fact that he's getting the assists, 185 assists, in 406 games in 6 years in his career. 185 of the 316 are all assists, 131 goals. He did score a lacrosse goal against the Boston Bruins, which was really awesome to see. But like I said, it goes back to for someone who's making north of 7.7, you would like to see a more continuous run of you're almost touching the 30 goal mark. Kind of being under 25 most of your time, it's good to have, but if you're looked at as someone who's supposed to be scoring a lot more often, I could see where the fans are kind of not at 100% with the fact that it's like there's kind of certain expectations when it comes to stuff like that. So it does make sense where the fans are coming from with that as well. And, there's a lot more things we got to talk about when it comes to terms of Andrei Svechnikov's game, which we'll get to here in a second on a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Game Time is the authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. The things I really like about the Game Time app specifically is the fact you get their last-minute ticket deals along with their flash deals and their zone deals as well, along with the views from the actual seats at the venue. But more importantly than that, with their last-minute deals, like I just mentioned, you actually save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, along with concerts, comedy theater, and so much more. So it's not just about sports itself. You can actually save money on all types of events that you want to go to in your everyday life. With their flash deals, you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event itself. And with their zone deals, you can save more by when you choose the section, but you let the Game Time app choose the seat for you. And in talking about the seats, the one feature I really like is their seat viewfinder, where you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. So that way when you get to the event, you know what your sight lines are going to be. You know what you're going to be looking at when you get to the actual events. There's no obstructed views, no bad seating areas. You know exactly what you're going to be looking at when you get to that sport or the event. So with that being said, take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time or other events as well. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. It's like I said at the end of segment 1, we were going to go over more of what the expectations are for Andrei Svechnikov, talk more about his game overall. And I know with Andrei, we talked about his goal scoring. You kind of would love to see a little bit more scoring out of him for the fact that you've not really seen him hit more than 25 goals since 21-22, where he had 30. Everything else has been kind of under that. The assists are there, 37 back in 2018-20, 27, 39, 32, and 33 respectively. So he's going to be perennially in the 30s. Hasn't really hit the 40 assist mark yet. You hopefully want to see him get there. Points-wise, he's hit 69. Hasn't quite hit 70 yet. He's had 2 60-plus point seasons and now 2 50-plus point seasons. And like I said, it goes back to you're making $7.75 million. You're going into the last year before your modified no trade clause kicks in, which starts July 1st of 2025, and that turns into a 10-team trade list. Now that being said, for the money you make, you have to start scoring more goals. And I feel like that's kind of like the knock on Andrei Svechnikov right now is the fact that he's a good facilitator of the assists, but you would love to see the goal scoring that you would want to see for a guy who's getting paid that much money. Yeah, you would. Yeah, you're getting almost 20 goals a season. That's great, but if you're kind of making that kind of money, you want to see him kind of hitting the upper 20s, like 28, like 27, 28. You're almost seeing him hit the low 30s. it's one of those things where you kind of look at how Andrei Svechnikov is in respects to the team itself, where, you see guys like Sebastian Aho getting 36 goals. Seth Jarvis, who's going to be looking for a payday, he got 33. Like I said, you played a lot less games. You still were 5th on the team in goals, which is good, with Martin Eaches at 24, Teravainen with 25. So the Hurricanes are good at spreading the wealth in terms of the goal scoring. But the money you make kind of also it makes a big deal, too, for the fact that Sebastian almost scored 40 goals. He played in 78 games. Like, he rested in one with the last game of the season, and he also missed 3 games, too, for being hurt on the West Coast trip, but still almost scored 40. Yes, you only played in 59 games, but overall, though, you should be kind of where Aho is. Low to mid 30s, almost try and get, maybe eventually get to the 40 goal mark. And I know it's a huge ask, and that's a lot to ask for a guy who missed a good part of the season. But also at the same time, like I said, you're looking at that money, what the expectations are going to be. You kind of need to start getting to the point where you're almost hitting 30 or close to it, like I said, high upper 20s almost every single season. And the one other thing that's kind of killed him a lot too, and especially for the postseason, I know a lot of fans were not happy about, was the costly penalties. It's one of those things where you look at this past season, he had 58 penalty minutes. It basically, he almost averaged 1 penalty minute per game. You look back at the 22-23s, he had 71 penalty minutes. The season before, 79. So that's the thing with Andrei Svechnikov, is he's good at the reverse hits. He's good at laying the big hits, but it's one of those things that's very evident that the refs are looking for Andrei Svechnikov to do something. And that's kind of a thing that a lot of fans have been noticing a lot over the last couple seasons, is that Andrei can pretty much breathe on a guy and gets a penalty at this point. Like, he's got that reputation with the refs where the refs are going to call him for being a hothead sometimes, tick-tacky hits that would usually go away from other guys. He'll probably get called for him. So that's kind of one of the main things with Andrei Svechnikov's game is, he's a big, brawny power forward who can score goals. And, of course, electric ones you're talking about, lacrosse goals, or the Svechnikov, if someone wants to call him that. But it's one of those things where the refs are looking at you, and the fact you're almost averaging a minute per game in terms of penalties. And the one thing you want to be is you want to be available for the power play. You want to be available when Rod needs you. But the thing is, if you're taking a lot of penalties and you're not being available, that's not really something that you want to see out of a guy that you're paying that much money to, who you expect to score goals. I know the postseason really hurt him too. A lot of fans weren't happy about, for the fact that you look at how he took pretty costly stick infractions. Now, like I said, it's one of those things where it could be tick-tacky, and it's kind of some of them were kind of soft sometimes too. But overall, he did cause some infractions that really did slow down or pretty much insanely kill their own power play before it even got started. I know against the Rangers, I think it was back-to-back games. I forget what games specifically, but I think it was like games. I think it was like 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. It's one of those ones where he had tripping penalties right away on power plays for the Hurricanes. Hurricanes get a power play, but they're ready to go set it up, and then 3 seconds in, boom, instant penalty. And like I said, some could be like, okay, the refs were kind of, calling a really tic-tacky call that really should have been let go, or it was legit. And that's the one thing that kind of shot the Canes in the foot, was costly penalties by Andrei Svechnikov. And I think that's it's not the whole blame is on him, because the power play did struggle in the playoffs. Like, let's be honest, they did. Now, I've talked about it on the show before. But when you basically commit a penalty right away and basically negating the entire power play, we got maybe 3 or 4 seconds in, that's kind of tough, especially with a group who's already struggling. And now it's like you don't even get a chance to do anything. Like I said, it's one of those things where the costly penalties really hurt Andrei later on in the season, especially in the playoffs. The goal scoring, you hope we really want to be up there. But I mean, overall, Andrei Svechnikov's got a great game. He's going to score you goals. He's going to get you assists. He's going to get the points. It's just you got to hope he stays healthy for an entire season. Like I said, last season got cut short with the ACL. Starts this past season 3 games late from what we were expected. Gets hurt a couple more times. Only plays 59 games. But like I said, he did get 52 points. So overall, he still had a pretty decent season, all things considered. The fact of how much he was out for, but was still able to put up the points to be 4th on the team, or being 5th on the team. But it's one of those things too where costly penalties kill you. The lack of goal scoring that you would love to see from a guy who's, like I said, who's getting paid north of $7.5 million. You get 19 in the regular season, that's good, but you would love to see a little bit more. Playoffs. Yeah, you got 11 points in 11 games, but you had 2 goals. You kind of hope to have at least 4 or 5, or maybe just have 4 at least. Because then a 5 and 11 is, you're almost dang near doing it like a goal every 2 games, but at least a little bit more than 2. So all things considered, Andrei Svechnikov had a good season for what it was. I know some people said it was incomplete. Some others gave him some different grades and stuff like that too, which, it's kind of tough to look at a season like this for Andrei Svechnikov where you play less than 60 games. How do you grade a whole season for him in general? But, it's got to be one of those things where, you have to take a lot of stuff into consideration. So that's why with the fans' grade and my grade, I think this is kind of one of the tougher ones to do. So in that, we are going to talk about the letter grade that the fans on social media gave him, along with mine as well, which we will go over here in a second on a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Hey, Locked On Hurricanes fans. I want to take a moment to bring up one of our partners, the mobile game Ultimate Hockey GM. Ever dreamed of becoming an NHL GM and managing your hockey franchise? Do you think you could run the Hurricanes better than any current GM out there? Well, your dream can come true, and this game is most definitely for you. Manage every strategic aspect of your team, play through the seasons, and lead it to glory. Hire the right coaches and staff, trade players or draft picks, navigate through free agency and the draft, all in a challenging and realistic game world. As a Hurricanes fan, you know there's no offseason. GMs are constantly making moves at every point of the year to improve their team's chances, and that's why I think you are going to love this game. Ultimate Hockey GM is completely free and playable offline. Play on the go as you want and when you want to. By the way, Locked On Network listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code LOCKEDONNHL in the game store. So make sure to check that out. To download the game, just visit hockeygm.app or look it up on the App Store. Ultimate Hockey GM. Start your dynasty today. Welcome back to a segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So now we're getting to the great portion of the show where I go over and see what the fans on social media or X gave the grade for Andrei Svechnikov, and I also give him my grade as well. So in terms of the fans, 88 votes. He got once again 1% with the D or F grade. This is like the third guy in a row that I've seen someone give them a D or an F score. I'm really curious to see why a D/F for a guy like Andrei Svechnikov or even like Teuvo Teravainen. And it makes kind of no sense that, like, even with like Martin Nietzsche's too, it's like, how I'm wondering why some people are giving those type of grades. Like, really? A D? I don't know. It'd be very hard for me to see a guy getting like a D score, but I digress on that. 23% gave him a C. I can kind of see. Sorry, I had to. Where people were coming from on that one, because it was like he missed a lot of games this season. Yeah, he did get 52 points in 59 games, but he didn't really stay healthy a lot. Did take a lot of penalties that were kind of costly to the team. So I see where people come from with that. 19% gave him an A. Okay, yeah. Like I said, going back to the points, he still got a lot of points in the amount of games he was in. still finished top 5 on the team. So you kind of give him the fact that, fifth on the team in points, missed a lot of the season, still did a pretty good job, did get 11 points in 11 games in the playoffs. So he did contribute there as well. So, yeah, I can see where people are giving him an A. But ultimately, 57% gave him a B. And I would tend to, agree for the fact that it's one of those things where the availability wasn't there because he was hurt. Nothing you can do about that. The cost of penalties did kind of kill you a good bit in the playoffs at some points in the season, but the points were there too in the regular season and the postseason. So it's, like I said, it's one of those weird grades. I think that's probably one of the hardest grades to give for a guy who played less than 60 games, but almost became a point per game guy. It's a weird spot to be in, all things considered, because I know some people said, it's almost like a C, maybe just because maybe also maybe an incomplete, coming back from injuries, and the fact that because he has higher expectations of what he should be for the price he's getting paid, and and like high, it's kind of hard to grade, on guys on how they performed and relative to their expectations when you're kind of looking at you didn't get closer to 8, like you're not talking a high upper 70s or even getting close to 82 games. So playing 59 is a kind of weird spot to be in for those grades. So I can kind of see where people are kind of like maybe a C, B is kind of around that range. So for me, so the fans gave him a B. We all know that. For me, I would give him the B plus. It's B plus, almost closer to B, but I give him the plus just for the fact that you look at what he did in the short amount of time that he did it in. I think for me, it's where the points were at, and also in the playoffs too. You get 11-11, you'll take that. He did contribute a lot. He was on a point streak in the playoffs. Like I said, regular season, I know in December there was a couple week stretch with him and Sebastian Aho were going absolutely off. They were scoring at will, making the points where they need to. He did play a lot of second line for most of the season, did finally get up to the top line with Gensel and Aho later on in the season. And then going into the playoffs, he was with them as well. So that's why I kind of give him a B plus, just for the fact of the limited time he was in, he was still able to get the points done. You would love to see a little bit more of the goal scoring in, and of course the playoff performance of being a point per game guy was really huge for the Canes. But I can see why I would be almost closer to a B, but I kind of give him that B plus just because of like how much he was able to do on the short opportunities that he had with the team. The penalties really did kind of hurt him too, like I said, in the playoffs. When you negate 2 power plays pretty quickly in back-to-back games, that's kind of a tough thing to come back from. So all in all, I give him the B plus. I think the expectations should be, they are higher for Andrei Svechnikov, especially the money that he's making. Hopefully he gets this offseason where it's just a normal season where he's not having to come back from an injury. He can just relax, recover, and get ready for the season. And, hopefully we get, an 82-game season from Andrei Svechnikov, and we were looking at 25, hopefully 30 goals. Hopefully we get a 70-point season out of him. That'd be really great to see. So it'll be very, very, very interesting to see how all it plays out. But so officially, fans with the B, I give him the B plus. But that will wrap up this Thursday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. If you want to follow me and keep up with me on anything Carolina Hurricanes related, you can follow me on X at OneTrueZach. The podcast is @LO_Hurricanes. If you click the link tree in my bio, you can find all my articles and newsletters with the hockey writers, all AHL coverage that I do with the Colorado Times, where to listen and watch my other podcast, The Surgecast, and also where you can find the links for the podcast here on all podcast platforms. If you leave a 5-star rating and review, I might just read it on the show. If you're on the YouTube side of things, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss the show, hit the thumbs up button to let me know if you like the show. Also share with your friends so that way we can continuously get more subscribers, because we are over 880 and we're on the road to 1,000. And if we get to 1,000, I might just do something special for you guys, and make sure to share it too, so that way that also other Caniacs just like you also become everydayers. But I hope everyone enjoyed the Thursday episode of Locked On Hurricanes and the Andrei Svechnikov gradings, and looking back over the season overall. Hope everyone has a great rest of their Thursday. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.